presentation, as today is the last day of Beatles Weekend. This being an updated project of where Epstein NEMS shop stood, a part of the local community, and finished on this corner with flats 1 and 1A. We now have a Royal Street steeped in history for all to appreciate, with our 2 local football teams and the RAF plane crash, and now with Brian Epstein starting his career on this very place for Epstein NEMS shop. I would like to thank everybody who've been involved with this project, and also thank Tourist Housing Association, from Gemma and Julie to Margaret Goddard, for arranging for the plaque to be placed on this site. I am sure it's something Tourist Housing will be and should be proud of. I give you Mrs. Margaret Goddard.
Afternoon everyone, it's lovely to see you all. We're, as on behalf of Tourist Housing Group, we're really delighted to support the community. We're really delighted to be able to support the community with the installation of the plaque, and really support the communities that we work with across Liverpool. So it's great to see such a turnout today, and we're really pleased to be able to provide some support here as well. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Margaret Goddard. And of course the plaque had to be paid for. Well, to those who donated, I would like to say a special thank you, because without trust and a funding, we wouldn't be standing here today. I won't mention names, but you know who you are, and I thank you. We know that this site was the site of the Epstein family, and they moved to Anfield Road. And to have Patrick Duggan with us today, the owner of Epstein House Hotel, 27 Anfield Road, who will do the honour of presenting the plaque as from this site. Visitors can still view 27 Anfield Road. I am also glad to see Dale Roberts from Cavan City Tours. But first of all, I present to you Pat Duggan. Cheers.
Thank you, Gordon Whitehall. Thank you very much. A very short few words just to say that it's pleasurable to see respect and recognition coming to the place where it ought to be. Brian Samuel, yes, he worked at Whitechapel, NEMS. Before that he worked in Charlotte Street, NEMS. But Brian Samuel started his career right here on this piece of ground in Walton Road. I'd like to thank everybody, including Tourist Housing, but especially Gordon Whitehall, for his integrity and sincerity and the hard work he put in. Thank you.
Thank you, Patrick. I'm sure you would like me to present the plaque on your behalf.
Mother Nature has already presented it. That's the plaque. There was a cover on it, but it came out 2 or 3 days ago, didn't it? Apparently Brian did it. Thank you, Gordon.
Cheers, Patrick. I now present to you Dale Roberts, who I'm sure will give you a chat about Cavan City Tours and about the knowledge about this weekend and beyond into the future. I present Dale Roberts.
Gordon, you can all hear me, can't you? Yeah. I like to speak. I speak loud, hopefully louder than the traffic. Let's find out. Gordon asked me a few months ago to come along and be here, and honestly, it's a privilege to be here. I was actually I was raised here in this area, County Road, Liverpool. So it honestly means so much to me. I was chatting to my mate Tommy a moment ago. Right? There are two pieces of major Beatles history in Walton, County Road. One of them is that the world's greatest ever songwriter, musician and composer was born 2 miles down that road in Walton Hospital. Paul McCartney was born here, and quite often that's overlooked. The other thing that's overlooked, and I'll be honest, it's been overlooked by me as well for many, many years. This is one of the places where we can truly say it all began. And there's many places where they say it all began, you know, the Cavern being one of them, of course, the Casbah, Hamburg as well. This is where it all began for Brian Epstein, and that cannot be understated. Without Brian, the Beatles don't happen. You know, it's as simple as that. Brian Epstein changed everything, you know. He was the godfather of the Merseybeat, wasn't he? It wasn't only the Beatles. It was, you know, many other great bands, the Searchers, Jerry and the Pacemakers. It was Cilla Black. They all came through the Merseybeat movement, and the Merseybeat changed the world forever. The world completely changed, and it was from the banks of the River Mersey, from the back streets of Liverpool, places like the Cavern Club on Matthew Street. The world would never, ever be the same again. But it all started here, and I genuinely mean that. On County Road, Walton Road in Liverpool, yeah. Something we should all be extremely proud of, isn't it? It really is. Brian started here, of course, as mentioned just a moment ago. He would go on to work Whitechapel. That's where NEMS record store would be. It's where the Beatles were signed, in the city centre of Liverpool. But the most important thing that happened is one day, according to Brian Epstein, a young lad, Raymond Jones, walked into his shop and asked for a copy of a Beatles record. He walked in then, Brian Epstein, to that dark, damp, dusty basement cellar called the Cavern Club. That was the 9th of November 1961. He walked into the Cavern and he discovered the Beatles playing. Of course, before he discovered the Beatles, the smell of smoke, stale fruit and toilet disinfectant would have hit him. The famous and legendary Cavern smell, of course. But he discovered the Beatles playing in that dark, damp, dusty basement cellar, and he took them from that basement cellar. And by 1964, they were no longer playing there. They were playing live on the Ed Sullivan Show to over 73 million people on the Ed Sullivan Show. The world would never, ever be the same again. And as I say, it all started here. Something we're very grateful for. We should be more grateful for it as well. Here on County Road, Walton Road in Liverpool, yeah. It all started here for Brian. Without this, you know, the world wouldn't be the same place. It all changed. This weekend in Liverpool, it really is about time. It's something we're all very grateful for. It's the hard work and effort of the likes of Tommy over here, and also Marie as well, and many others. Brian Epstein finally got his very own statue in the city of Liverpool just this weekend, around the corner from the Cavern. Can we have a round of applause for that, guys, by the way? It really is a fantastic thing. Don't know if anyone was there for it, but absolutely brilliant. But we owe it all to that man, Brian Epstein. This is where it began. Things have changed, of course they have. Yeah. Things have changed. It's no longer that old furniture shop where Brian Epstein was a rebellious young man, placing furniture in the way in which he shouldn't have placed it. But he went on to rebel on an international level, didn't he? And he changed the world. This weekend's 55 years since Brian Epstein passed away, and here we are, still honouring him with a blue plaque here in the city of Liverpool on County Road. I'm proud of that, I really am. Of course, for you guys, there's lots going on in the city at the moment, isn't there? International Beatle Week is taking place. There is thousands of people descending upon our city. But as I say, I am extremely proud of that long last. Brian Epstein's finally getting the recognition he deserves, not only with the statue, but with the blue plaque here. But thanks once again as well to Gordon. He's done a fantastic job setting this up, hasn't he? Thanks, Gordon.
Thanks a lot, Dave. We now have someone that lived quite local in the area and is one of our own radio presenters from Merseyside, Frankie Connor. Also one of our Merseybeat artists, as his group at the time was the Hideaways, and it was filmed in the Cavern with the advert for Tick-a-Tick Timex. Great days. I am sure Frankie will have a say about the area and about Liverpool came tumbling down, and in remembrance of his brother Freddie. Thank you, Frankie.
Gordon. Thank you very much indeed. It's great to be here today, really is. And Paul McCartney was born in Walton Hospital. I was born in the same ward 5 years later, delivered by his mother, Mary McCartney. That's my claim to fame, not the hideaways. Yeah, Mary, she brought me into the world. Tell you what, this is great today because 64, I was 17 years old and met Brian Epstein. He came in the cabin on lunchtime session. Brian walked in, had like a mohair suit. He looked so posh. We were so scruffy, we really were. And Brian looked so smart with Bob Wooler. What a nice guy. I only met him twice. A lovely warm handshake. And what Brian did, you can't estimate. Without Brian, be no Beatles. There'd be the Beatles band, but the fame, he was the fifth Beatle. Wherever you hear, Brian was the fifth Beatle without question. His input was extraordinary. He really, really was. And I was there for, I was the cabin for 6 years at Hideaways. We began at the very bottom and stayed there. No, Bob Wooler took us to one side and left us there. I saw the girl before and I came and said, Frankie, you're on the wireless. He said, no, on the wireless you don't sound that tall. Just with the stilettos. Once again, Gordon's done so much good, but it's tremendous. I think we're going to go over there in the pub. If there's a guitar, I'll give you a few songs. Whatever key, Yale, Chubb, you pick your own key. We'll do some songs after, and I'll have a bit of a giggle anyway. And by the way, I'm on the wireless every Sunday, you know, and I do requests. If any you want to hear, let me know, because I actually know most of your names and I know where you live. I live there, I know, you don't live, I live there. So once again, a huge thanks for coming down. It's a great day, and the man honoured here is really incredibly important. As the boys have said before, Brian Epstein, gentleman, and a real, he said he'd be bigger than Elvis to be. Everyone laughed at Brian. Bigger than Elvis, come on. What happened? You know, it's history, it really is history. And in Brian's case, he got absolutely right. He really was quite superb. Once again, thanks for coming down, and Frankie Connor, News at 10. Thanks for your time.
Thanks a lot, Frankie. I'm sorry to say, Paul Levinson, who's on the programme today, cannot be here. But his father was a good friend of Brian Epstein's, and he was the first boss, my first boss, in 1966, when I was working in the tailoring trade, and we would travel up and down from Walton Vale, County Road, Walton Road, into the city centre to deliver old suits for those that were in Merseybeat, if you like. I thought they would have had a representative. Is there anyone here from Ioma Clothing? No?
Did you put your hand up?
Right, okay. I'd now like to present the local councillor, Joe Hanson, to say a few words.
Thank you. I wasn't expecting to speak today, hence the dress code. I think when you look around, this part of it displays our sense of community that exists in Kirkdale, and he is like a dog with a bone. Told me this about 2 years ago. I said, yeah, get on with it, mate. Just get on with it. And the team around him have done an absolutely brilliant job. I think the fact that Taurus, the biggest housing operation selling in this area, can focus in and recognise and realise how important Brian was to this part of the city. He wasn't born on County Road, you know, Rice Lane where Walton Hospital is. But I think it's great that you've all turned out. I think it shows and demonstrates the importance of our community, led by this young man here. And I'm sure I'll get home sometime this afternoon and make a phone call and say, I've just thought of this, can you give me a hand? So, good luck, God bless, and I'll leave you all now. Take care.
Thanks a lot, Joe. And lastly, we have two guests here today who have given their time to play a few tunes in the halfway house. And I'd like to introduce Ian and Steve, known as the Merseys. Thanks a lot, boys. Thanks for your time. And lastly, I'd like to thank all who have participated in the project. Alliance Print, and photocast from Speak. And those mentioned, thanks again. And to Alison in the new halfway house, Walton Road. Please everyone, you're invited over the road. Thanks again. All right, thanks ladies and gentlemen.